So so my name's Sin. I use she, they pronouns. I'm a queer Chicana therapist that's licensed in California and New York.
Hmm.
And I have climbed my way into the nonprofit system and essentially like navigated the nonprofit system like way before grad school. And now that I am in private practice full time, I want to build a BIPOC consultation group. And
Hmm.
it is specifically for, BIPOC folks who are the first in their family to go to college, who are like looking for that roadmap, you know?
Yeah.
And I want, as the eldest queer daughter, I
Uh-huh.
want to
Leave
be
it to an eldest daughter to start a group. I love it.
yeah. I want to be able to offer this space for them, and I think where I feel good is I feel good about the price, I feel good about the content, and I do and I think what I could benefit from is like maybe learning a little bit about your experience building groups, but
Mhm.
also the experience of building a group that is centered around tr not transitioning like my where I'm wanting to work with my ideal folks is transit like think they're at this place of change of like do I want to grow in nonprofit or do I just want to say like fuck it, like let me figure it out on my own.
Hmm.
I want to be able to lead them to determine that, but I also really want them to embody their core values of who they are,
Hmm.
and so I'm like wondering like how do you determine like when you're like kind of like tightening up, like the process and like just I'm thinking about like things to consider because one right now my time is 12 weeks and it's like themes vary of like building connection with the group and going into talking about like how white supremacy like impacts like the nonprofit system,
Hmm.
and then like talking about like undoing that and unraveling it and like going into this like witchcraft space of like here are some of these like embodiments that you already have, like why don't you strengthen them and like highlight them, and then the rest is kind of like integration, but like
Hmm.
more like I'm really trying to be mindful of like one, how do I like conceptualize like this is like I'm not going to teach you how to like set up an S corp, or I'm
Uh-huh.
not going to teach you how to like I can teach you like the general like give you general resources, but I really want to focus more on that embodiment piece and for you to feel like a lot stronger of this is where I want to go or this is also how I want to approach myself.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it always starts with that ideal client, right? Which it sounds like you've either got or are close to
Mhm.
getting.
Yeah.
You have a clear idea of who they are. Um, and thinking when it comes to marketing it, it's thinking about what results do they want or need.
Mm,
Because this is it's slightly different from therapy, right?
yeah.
So like my ideal clients want and need to get full in their practice, right? Like
Mhm.
that's their goal. Your ideal clients are probably not like, how can I live more within my values, right? They're not necessarily there. They just know something's off and that
Mhm.
there's maybe some existential dread or there's some
Mhm.
sense of like, they feel like they're selling out, but they don't know why or how, because like here they are working at a nonprofit, for instance. And like what that's the opposite of selling out, right?
Mhm.
So finding out what results or what their current lived experience is, like how they would describe it, what they complain to their friends about, what they and how they talk to their therapist about it differently.
Mhm.
Because there are the complaints and then there's like the juice
Mhm.
and having a good idea of those things where they overlap and where they're very different.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then you can tailor based on how surface or how deep you want to get in these. It sounds like you want to go deeper.
Mhm.
Um, you can talk more about the juice. It can be like adjunctive to their therapy work and not their therapy work. especially in a group. Like,
Mhm.
I think about the other therapists in your community who serve the BIPOC community one-on-one, letting them know about this group and your goals with it so that
Yeah.
they can be, you can share clients essentially.
Mhm.
Um, I think like naming in your marketing, naming the heavy topics that you're going to be talking about.
Mhm.
I don't know why. Zoom likes to give me thumbs up if I talk with my hands. Um, but talking about those things specifically, um, like the impact of white supremacy on nonprofit management, the
Yeah.
impact of white supremacy on healthcare in general, because they're out of the frying pan into the fire in some circumstances, you know? So how to negotiate internally
Mhm.
what might be a better fit
Mhm.
without necessarily expecting a perfect fit,
Yeah.
or what
Yeah.
could a perfect fit look like? Like,
Mm.
what can you create on your own outside of any systems that would truly serve the people you want to serve and feel really aligned with you? So I
Mhm.
think naming the things at play that are making them feel the way that they're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm really proud of my name that I'm calling the group because it's called Off the Record.
Love it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's, it really goes back to, and this is like a lived experience for anyone, who has gone through the nonprofit systems or internships in mental health care that, we're not going to tell our supervisors that we're thinking about leaving.
Right.
There are some folks who are like, yes, I'm good, like my supervisor supports me, but like more than likely we're not going to say that.
Right.
And I was a people manager before, so I get it, I understand it. And also, like you deserve a space to like really determine if this is the route that you want to go. So I think what I am hearing from you is like thinking about what they talk about with their friends, also like what is the juice, and I'm like really thinking about, can you like share more about like me conceptualizing the juice?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it might be that their complaint to their friends might be like, "God, my boss is just such a jerk. Like,
Hmm.
I can't do anything right. I
Yeah.
never get any positive reinforcement. It sucks." And
Yeah.
that's the like surface level complaint versus the juice is, I feel like I'm never enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm working in a system that's never going to affirm
Mhm.
me, period. Like I
Mhm.
know it and I keep staying in this system. And
Mhm.
why am I staying in this system? Is it fear? Is it learned helplessness? Is it lack of creativity? Like what is it in me that I'm seeing as a bad, wrong thing that keeps me stuck?
Mhm.
So it's just that next layer under that can go pretty intense
Yeah.
depending. But I think there are few, if any, institutions that are going to be a healthy place for people, is my perspective. So
Mhm.
like the bigger something gets, the less safe it becomes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think about these big nonprofit systems. I think about even like a local nonprofit that's just grown too fast, you
Oh my
know?
God. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so that's I really appreciate that, and like for you elaborating a bit more about the juice. And it's like, yeah, I was thinking that I wanted to make sure it's like, yeah, like that relational piece of like, am I enough? Is this what it is? So that's really helpful to consider. And then would I use that juice then to kind of inform kind of what they're going to walk away
Mhm.
with? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we can't promise results. We're never going to promise
Yeah.
results.
Yeah.
But to say like the focus of the group is on these things, how systems, like
Yeah.
when we feel stuck in systems, what that's getting to in us. There's a much more elegant way of saying this, but like what basically how to extract ourselves.
Hmm.
And not just from a like, take this step, then the next step, but just how to emotionally extract ourselves from systems that we continue to stay with. mean, it's like
Yeah.
I always think about jobs like bad relationships.
Hmm.
It's like an abusive relationship. It's hard to
Hmm.
get out of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Getting to this point of like the fact that it's BIPOC only. So it is maybe one of the only truly safe spaces that they have that's organized,
Yeah.
and not just a part of their peer or social group.
Hmm.
Um, I think with your population, there being some assurance that they're not going to have to spend this time taking care of everybody else, that there's,
Hmm.
mutual support, mutual aid, basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
that they're not going to have to step into that social worker role or whatever
Yeah.
for another hour this week.
Definitely, definitely. And then I have a question. I feel like one thing, so I've been a part of groups myself. I ran groups, but one thing that like I personally never did is this is like my first time doing a group coaching, or I don't even know if it's like group process, group coaching, group consultation, but what I also think about is like aftercare. So I'm like wondering like have like from your lived experience, like how do you offer aftercare or care during groups that are similar to something that I'm sharing?
Give me an example.
Yeah, like let's say that there, I the way that I personally envisioned it was that we would meet every other week,
Mhm.
but am anticipating, well, what if questions come up? What
Mhm.
if somebody needs to talk or something? And I'm like, I wonder like what are additional ways that I can show up that is like beneficial or that also like makes sense.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think what
yeah.
I'm wanting to do is like honor my boundaries and then
Mhm.
honor my time commitment to what I am offering and
Yeah.
also um have like any like energy exchanges be like reciprocal for what I during that time and also what they're paying for because I think one thing like one roadblock for me is I feel like I think I've just in my own lived experience over giving
Mhm.
tends to be a common theme in my own life, so I
Right.
want to be right sized.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. So I think, um, okay, I have a couple thoughts about it. I think there could be, it depends on what we're framing it as, because a process group is going to be really different from a consultation group, is going to be
Yeah.
really different from a coaching group.
Yeah.
A coaching group, you're also supposed to start a new business.
Mm.
So no, that's the guideline. I'll say that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, that you are not their primary therapist.
Mhm.
Like even if it's a process group, it might be that you let them know on the front end that you want to make sure that they have a good support system because this might stir up some stuff.
Yeah.
Depending like a consultation group, you could potentially have like a WhatsApp
Mhm.
that you could say like, I'm going to check in on it once a day for 5 minutes, but I
Mhm.
really want y'all to support one another. That's the purpose of it. But
Yeah.
I'll keep eyes on just so I can stay abreast
Mhm.
of what's going on with everybody over the course of 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Um, you could also do that with the coaching if you decide to do it as a coaching group.
Yeah.
Um, Process group, I don't think HIPAA is going to work there.
Mhm.
Um, so there are some options. I think it could also be that your support is the next day you send an email to everyone that sums up the call and
Yeah.
the goals for the next 2 weeks,
Okay.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Um, that you can just be like, here's your running off point. This is where we're headed
Mhm.
thematically.
Yeah.
Um, and to trust that like they've got resources, internal
Yeah.
and external resources to help support them so that you
Yeah.
don't fall into overgiving. Because I don't want you doing a group every 2 weeks, but talking to different people every day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, that's where I was at, and I appreciate the recaps because it's like, yeah, like I like in my nonprofit job, like I did do like
uh-huh.
debriefs and recaps, and I haven't thought about that. Um and I think that is a good container and that reminder of like, yeah, checking my phone or the WhatsApp group like once a day, you know?
Mhm.
But I would invite them to like build that ecosystem with one another.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then now I have a question so now I know like don't call it coaching.
Mhm.
So that's clear. But processing and consultation, I feel like because the way that I'm like structuring it is I want to do a check-in. I have thematic questions that really go with the content of
Mhm.
that I'm doing. And then the consultation piece is that's where I was thinking of like the tangible,
Mhm.
items. So what I'm wondering like how can like does it for you like does it sound more like consultation from what I'm saying? Because I do
Yeah.
have yeah, I do have like the content and it's like yeah, like I definitely want them to like come out with their bio, with their about me and
Mhm.
whatever. I want them to also come out with a mood board,
Mhm. Yeah.
for what. So it's like, yeah, there are like tangible things that they're gonna like feel good about. This is what I'm gonna do. But then like the next steps. So is
Mhm.
that like, would that be consult?
It feels more consultative to me with process, but like
Yeah.
really, like most consultations I've ever done involve feelings, right? So things get processed. So I would think it could be framed as like career consultation or something like that. Um, and then there will be those more emotional process chicken kind of pieces to it, and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because it's
definitely.
peers. Like I think if these weren't a bunch of therapists,
Yeah.
or people who could be therapists or whatever, then like it might be different. But because it's all peers, to me, it makes sense for it to be more of like a career consultation with process.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, that's all really helpful.
Good.
Um,
Yay. Anything else I can answer for you that would help give you a
let's
jumping off point?
Yeah, I'm like, I have 10 minutes. I'm kidding.
There's time.
Yeah, there's so much time. Um, I feel like that is helpful in terms of the juice, naming it as like framing, obviously like framing it as consultation, um, and the scaffolding of like following up and checking. I feel like those were kind of like the main things that I was thinking about. And then maybe I'll ask more about like on the back end, like admin professional side. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm still a sole proprietor.
Hmm.
That was something that was discussed between my accountant and
Hmm.
myself for the time being as I'm so early into my private practice. And then also in the state of California, you have to do an S corp,
Yeah.
so it makes sense right now for this.
Hmm.
Um, but is there anything that I should think about or consider around my own admin piece or the maybe like the business side of the group of building a group consultation like as a sole proprietor?
I think being really clear about what kinds of notes you're keeping, because like if it's a process group versus a consultation group, it's going to be really different, right? So your recap could be your note for the consultation group, no problem.
Uh-huh.
Um, Deciding, are you screening people? Um,
Mhm.
that's an important thing to consider. And you can go like I think that there are some things in the training that Katie K. May did
Mhm.
around filling groups that could be
Mm.
really helpful.
Mhm.
That's in the training section in the party. So
Okay.
it's one of our first ones actually. So you
Yeah.
may, I don't remember if it goes oldest to newest or vice versa. You may have to scroll a bit, but um, still really relevant, great information that she shared. Um, if it's recurring billing versus paying all at once,
Hmm.
that's another thing to consider.
Hmm.
And if it's paying all at once, is there then a discount? Um, if it's recurring, how do you handle it if things bounce? Like
Hmm.
have that whole plan ahead of time before you have a single person sign up.
Hmm.
That way it doesn't get attached to, but I really love this person. It can be
Hmm.
like, I really love this person and they need to pay for the group that they got before they can come to the next group. So
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah, that's really helpful of like, yeah, checking in with the screening. I definitely feel like I I feel like where groups are going is like paying monthly is where it's
Hmm.
at right now than like
Yeah.
going all at once. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, that is helpful to think about like if things bounce,
Hmm.
this is the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And having like informed consent that everybody signs for the group. It doesn't have to be because it's consultation, it doesn't have to be as like beefy as a regular informed consent, but just something that covers confidentiality. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And that's also something like if I were to do like business consultation, because people have asked me if I would be willing to do business consultation like way before this group started, or people don't
Mhm.
even know, well, people don't know about it yet. But um for business consultation as a sole proprietor, and if I were to say business consultation, like I don't have to make another business. It's part of, is that part it?
It depends on your license. It all depends on your license. If your license says that that's covered,
Uh-huh.
then it's covered, but I don't know any licenses that cover it. Um,
Okay.
so they see it like outside your therapy scope.
Oh,
Whereas like career consultation is still kind of within your therapy scope because
got it.
yeah,
Got it. Okay.
no, it's nuanced. I also don't know anybody who's gotten into trouble for it, but I want to give the good true information just in case
Yeah.
somebody does get in trouble for it someday. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So, framing it as career consultation.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, maybe I just need to check in with my yeah, because yeah, I think I'm always of the mind of like doing everything like in a matter of abundance, and just being very clear.
Mhm.
And that's something that I want to make sure that I'm like as a sole proprietor, like what does that what does that mean?
Mhm.
You
Yeah, and I think like a sole proprietor shouldn't prevent or it shouldn't really dictate that any differently than the way you would run it by like through
know?
your
Mhm.
ethics anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It was great talking with you and like I hope that this group fills quickly and that everybody gets exactly what they wanted and more.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I know you're into music.
Mhm.
So I'm like, what kind of music are you listening to these days?
Oh gosh. Well, right now my kids are home for summer, so all my music is their music.
Okay.
They're very into Paramore right now.
Oh
And like
yeah,
Fall Out Boy. They're going emo from like the aughts. I don't know where that
yeah.
came from, but here we
Like
go.
2005.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're like me post grad school when I was still listening to the stuff from college. So we'll see.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, it's fun. What about you?
me. I am listening to a lot of Band, Duran Jones, and the
Mm,
Indications. It's a lot of like neo soul
love it.
music. Yeah, they're really great.
Awesome.
Yeah, so just like getting into the like summer vibe right now.
I love it. Yeah, yeah. Very fun. Great. Well, I wish you will keep us updated in the Facebook group. I want to hear how it's going.
Yeah, thank you so much, Allison.
Sure.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.